Hi everyone, my name's Ivan. I wrote the story on the front page in today's newspaper, and I'd like to talk to you about it. Hi, my name is Ivan Penchikov. I'm a deputy chief editor and senior political reporter at the Epoch Times. I've been with the newspaper for going on 9 years. I've been covering the Trump presidency since day one. And I've covered the various investigations that surrounded the presidency since the inauguration as well. So the story I want to talk to you about today is the conclusion of the Mueller saga, so to say. This is a story that's been unfolding since May 2017, and on May 29, Robert Mueller, the special counsel, officially closed the special counsel's office, formally concluded the Russia investigation, and announced his resignation from the Justice Department. These three things are really the core of the story. It's not something that you get from the other media, which quickly jump to speculation about what Mueller's statement could have meant. What we try to do at the Epoch Times is cut past the noise and give readers the news that actually happened. So the speculations on both sides of the spectrum contribute to the conversation, but the news is the Russia probe is over. The news is that Mueller once again confirmed what's in the report, that there was no collusion between Trump, anyone on his campaign, and actually any American and Russia to influence the 2016 election, and that Mueller did not make a decision on whether to charge the president with obstruction of justice or not. So I think if you look at our motto, truth and tradition, that's something we really try to get to first and foremost in any story, which is the cold, hard truth. But obviously, we also discussed some of these speculations on the left and the right once we get into the story. And I think one particularly interesting one was that Mueller said that his decision to not make a decision about obstruction charges was based on the Office of Legal Counsel policy that you cannot charge a sitting president with a crime. When I heard this, and we were covering the story yesterday, this seemed quite different from what Barr related about a conversation with Mueller, where Mueller apparently said that, said it 3 times, that his non-decision basically was based on the fact that was actually not based on this decision. And he repeated this 3 times, and Barr told this under oath to Congress that Mueller was specific about that his decision not to bring charges was not based on the legal opinion. So there seemed to be some contradiction there, but after our story was published, we actually asked the Department of Justice and the Special Counsel's Office if there's a disparity between those two statements. And it turns out it was basically clarified that there is not. It turns out that what Mueller was telling Barr, that he wasn't going to make a decision either way. Meanwhile, once you get to Mueller's statement, he was basically saying the same thing more or less, except he put a lot of stress on the Office of Legal Counsel opinion. One of the ways the Epoch Times does things differently from the other media is that we rarely would run a story with an anonymous source. And what we've seen a lot throughout the Mueller investigation over these 2 years is that reputable media outlets like the New York Times, Washington Post, and on television broadcast networks have run breathless stories citing anonymous sources. What we understood early on about this investigation is that it was extremely political. It directly impacted how the White House can operate. It impacted America's position on the world stage. It impacted the economy. So running a story with an unnamed source or an anonymous source would be irresponsible, because beneath the veneer of this person disclosing information that is so sensitive that they couldn't give up their name is the fact that when readers don't know the name of the source and identity of the source, they don't know the agenda behind that source's motivations for disclosing the information. The problem with that is that in Washington, D.C., just about everyone, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, has an agenda. And there are agendas that run beyond party lines as well. And when an outlet prints a story from an anonymous source, the issue is that that source has their biases and their agenda, and they will pick and choose the facts in order to fit their narrative or dictate the narrative in the media. And as a result, this is why so much shock and awe transpired when Mueller said there was no collusion, and Mueller didn't make a decision about obstruction because Americans have been hearing collusion and obstruction for years now. So we didn't do that, and that was not a surprise to us, because once you delve into the details of the various indictments, once you look into the things that are out in public and sourced, the story was much different. It was clear there was no collusion by late 2017. It was clear there was no obstruction way before Mueller released his report. And this is how we're different. When I think about what this story means to the average American, just taking a step back, this was an investigation of the United States President and the Commander-in-Chief at an extremely sensitive time in the United States and around the world. And what it's done since May 2017 is put a giant question mark over the White House and over the presidency, impeding President Trump at every turn, because there is this public perception that was unresolved on whether he had colluded with Russia and whether he was obstructing the investigation. Now, to many people, it was quite clear that there was no crime committed and there was no obstruction. But Mueller's investigation, given all of its intensity and how broad it was, how many witnesses were interviewed, how many subpoenas issued, how many people's homes and offices were raided, is conclusive in the fact that there's no crime committed on behalf of the president, and there was no collusion with Russia. So I think to the average American, this is a giant sigh of relief that America is in a better place now at home and in the world, and Trump will be free to do the things that will keep on driving up the economy, that will keep reestablishing the United States as the world power that it is. And when it comes back to the average Americans, they'll be happier, healthier, more prosperous, and more free to do the things that they want with their lives.